This episode is brought to you by the Ghoulish Gallery, Movies for Days, Dewey Pod Monster, The Aardvark and Magic Moshi Do Red Dwarf, Video Tasties, Voices from the Mausoleum, You Gonna Eat That Crust, and Pop Culture Reflections, all members of the You Run Podcast Network, all available at yourunpodcast.com. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good whenever you're listening to us now. Welcome to the You Run Podcast True Crime, the place where you pick the cases and have your say too. My name's Scott.
And I'm Heather.
And we are the Heather. We are your hosts as we take you through a month-long case of 2 episodes. Heather is slightly nervous today because Heather knows Heather and Scott may disagree on several points through today's case, but
we're going to disagree, honey. We're going to disagree. It's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. We are an opinionated show, which I kind of just foreshadowed there by saying we're going to disagree. We do not read from a script. We give you the facts of the case, and then we discuss them in an open way. Some cases we cover are hard to work through, and obviously cover themes like murder, sexual assault, cannibalism, pretty much everything you would expect when you see true crime in the title of a podcast.
Very true.
Yeah, we also don't shy away from more recent cases. We just covered the Uvalde school shooting in our last case, which was tragic, and it led us on to conversations about gun control and things like that. So we decided we would poll some more modern and potentially less stressful cases. It didn't pan out that way. This case I found so stressful. For those of you who don't already know, it's something that quite often gets lost in translation. I am not a fan of true crime. I dislike it. I find it genuinely terrifying that these people exist, whether it's a school shooter or a cannibal. This scares me more than any other horror movie that I've watched. It is real life. You, on the other hand, you are our true crime expert. Yeah, who you give us more psychological motives, and you have a deeper understanding of it. When I look at things on face value and go, "That's fucking awful." That's our dynamic. I go, I can't stand this, and you go, I can't stand it either. But this is why it happened.
But I wonder if some of your trauma, so to speak, stems from your past of what has happened, since you can closely relate it to a life traumatic experience. And so I wonder sometimes if it's subconsciously, like that's why you just like it bothers you more than other people, maybe?
Yeah, it's possible, but it does bother me. And this case bothered me a lot. I had lots of conflicting battles with this. I'm not going to lie. When this case got voted for, I was completely unfazed. I was like, this is going to be a cakewalk. I know this case. It's in the news right now. I've got no problem with this whatsoever. I started investigating into what happened to a poor defenseless child and eventually led to the murder of her mother. Yeah. And I am not okay. I am really not okay.
You're not supposed to be.
Very true. If you haven't guessed already, today we are going to go through the tragic case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
It is the perfect town, the perfect place. I think it was a blessing in disguise. It took something like a hurricane to make us have a happy ending.
Dee Dee was happy enough just having medical care for Gypsy. She says she never expected this.
It's amazing. It's amazing, the outpouring of love and support.
Dr. Janet Jordan met Dee Dee and Gypsy while on a mission trip to the hurricane-ravaged areas. She says she knew right away she'd see them again. After arranging a helicopter ride from Louisiana to St. John's Hospital, the process began to find them a permanent home. It Turns out St. John's already owned this house, and with the help of local donations, it was turned into a home.
I think that's just kind of what we're all about. You know, we're all about doing what we can to help people that are in a bad situation.
It's beautiful, and it's happy, and it's full of love.
I think they brought hope to everybody else that was down there.
This is home to us. We've been wandering for so long, and this is finally our home. So it's so good to be here.
Where's the first place you decided to stab her?
And I just was in a random spot in the back.
In the back, just random?
Yes.
Do you know how many times you stabbed her?
4.
You stabbed her 4?
Yeah, 4 times.
And so what happens after you're done stabbing Dee?
I knocked on the door, and I also scratched on the door twice to let her know that was me instead of her mom.
Oh, so is that a code you guys came up
Yeah.
with? Okay, so what was the code again?
It was 3 knocks and then 2 scratches.
Okay, 3 knocks, 2 scratches. So, after that happens, after you do the 3 knocks and the 2 scratches, does she open the door?
Not right away.
Okay, what happens?
She wanted to save her private part
Okay.
and her legs.
Okay, she wanted to shave her private part in her legs?
Yes, for me.
What did you do while she's shaving her legs and stuff?
I waited for her.
Okay, and then she gets out of the bathroom, and then what happens?
And then we started to clean up the ground and everything around.
I don't understand, I'm sorry.
Like anything that had, I mean, she took some pictures away and she actually threw them in the trash.
Okay.
She tried to get rid of things that would give you guys the idea that she really lives there.
State of Wisconsin versus Gypsy Blanchard, case number 15 CF755, assigned to Judge Bory.
Individual is alleged to have conspired with Nicholas Godejohn and asked him to stab her mother to death so that they could be together, and stole money from her deceased mother's safe and fled the state of Missouri, coming to the state of Wisconsin. She has no known ties to the state of Wisconsin other than her relationship with Mr. Godejohn. At this point in time, she's looking, just as Mr. Godejohn is, at 2 felony charges, most significantly one being first-degree murder, where the penalty is life imprisonment or death. So given those factors, the state does believe she's a substantial flight risk and would ask that the court impose the same bail that Mr. Godejohn got of $1 million, with conditions not to contact Mr. Godejohn and not to leave the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's a tragic case on so many different levels. It's more than big enough to fill 2 episodes, and to try and work out how to break it down, what I wanted to do is give the facts and not the dramatized version that 99% of people have seen, because there are lots of things in that are elaborated and falsified to make it more of a drama. Gypsy Rose's life was awful, but as was the brutal premeditated murder of her mother. And in this episode, we're going to go from right at the beginning, right through Gypsy's childhood, all the way up to the murder and to the sentencing. And then when we come back for extended cut, you and me are going to row big time, because we're going to do from the sentencing through to the day we record.
Current, right? Until
Current,
current. Yeah. Okay.
But we're going to split it like that, because this episode is very much factual, what happened.
Yeah.
The next episode is going to be about what happened while she was in prison, and then her appeals and getting out. And that when we get to the bit where she gets out, it becomes much more opinion based as opposed to fact based. So we've got a fact based episode and an opinionated episode. We're going to kick things off with Dee Dee, who's Claudine. Is it Claudine or Claudine? I can't pronounce her name.
It's Claudine.
Claudine Blanchard, who's Gypsy's mum. She was born in 1967 in Chuck Bay, which is not far from you in Louisiana.
It's about almost 5 hours away. Actually, it's southern south of me, so I think it's in the vicinity because of her accent. She's more like, it's probably closer to New Orleans, so it's more in that, like, the deeper south, because her accent is very like what we call coon ass. So basically she has like that French Southern type accent. I don't know. Anyways, that's what I'm assuming, because I've never heard of that. And it must be a small fucking town, because I have never heard of that place
Do you
ever.
know, that is insane that in one state it's a 5 hour. I can drive from the bottom of England almost to the top of England in 5 hours.
No,
Wow.
like New Orleans is a little over 5 hours, I think. And if you can go further south, you can go to the tip, like the tip of Louisiana. I don't know how long, but yeah, anyways, it's a drive. It's a drive.
Wow. She was one of 5 children. And from that, her childhood seemed fairly normal, but we don't know a lot about her childhood. This is when you get into cases like this, we don't know much about Dee Dee's childhood. We know things that happened when she got older, but her actual upbringing, I don't know if she had a bad upbringing, a good upbringing.
She
so
didn't.
I can't
She
pass
didn't.
comment.
No, I know a little bit. I know. She was a little spoiled. She was the favorite of the children. So there was always this kind of like, she got babied quite a bit, I would say.
Okay.
She tended to be the favorite, just from what I've seen and things I've read. I don't know 100% sure, but it looks like she had a kind of a privileged upbringing. Like, it wasn't like it was that bad as far as the way she was treated. I don't think she was neglected, but there's some stuff with her mama. Like, her mama was very similar to Dee Dee.
Yeah, there are some things that I did find out. So relatives said when she was a child, she would quite often steal from other family members, but it wasn't a case of she went, I'm going to steal money from my mum, or I'm going to steal money from my auntie. It was when she got told off or she didn't get her own way, she would steal petty things as revenge.
She was spoiled, I think. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was like, I can do whatever I want. I won't get into trouble, right? I'm the favorite. But her mom, I forget her mom's name. I don't know why. It was on the tip of my tongue. But her mother had some very like overprotective type qualities. I don't know if she had Munchausen, but anyway, you could see where it would evolve into.
Yeah, the thing is though, it's a lot of this case of like the really early stages is very much hearsay, and that's I struggle with that. But this bit at the beginning, I can't quite get a grasp on. I don't know how Dee Dee developed to become. How she developed the mental illness she had, because it's such a wild mental illness, but we'll get to that.
We'll talk more about it on an extended cut too, because I want to do a little more research on it, because it is very rare what mental illness she was suffering from. It's not something that like a new mom has to worry about getting.
No,
it's not like postpartum depression and or anxiety, which is very, very common. It's like 90% of women get it. This is like a psychological thing. So anyways.
In 1990, she met and married Rod Blanchard. And in 1991, they had their first and only child, who's Gypsy Rose. She was, do you know why she was called Gypsy Rose? Because Dee Dee liked the name Gypsy. Rod was a huge fan of Guns N' Roses. I found that fact really interesting because I like Guns N' Roses too.
Can I say this? I find it extremely white trashy. Guns N' Roses, man. Come on.
It goes back to the whole sort of double barrel names tend to sound a bit white trashy.
I mean, I'm thinking Gypsy Rose. I'm thinking of Stevie Nicks or something, right? You know, because she has a song. But like Guns N' Roses, like no sir.
They're good. I will have no bad thrown at Guns N' Roses.
They're fine. But have you seen the? Is it Axl Rose? Have you seen him now?
He's not in a good way now.
He was in the Goonies. Just FYI.
Sadly, by the time Gypsy was born, Dee Dee and Rod had split up. Rod married when he was 17 and Dee Dee was 24. And he said that he got married for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
Dee Dee tried for about a year to try and get Rod back into the relationship. And when she realized it wasn't happening, she moved back home with family. In 1997, she was caring for a sick mother, who in most of the dramatizations you'll see is shown as very, very controlling.
Yes.
And here in Relative Speaking interviews, there's lots of them that say that she wasn't controlling in the way it's shown. She was very much like she had an authority over Dee Dee, and Dee Dee would listen to her, but Dee Dee would still push back. And it wasn't a case of mummy says it happens, that's it, end of conversation. I watched a couple of interviews with some of the other children. They're like, no, they kind of got that wrong. They portrayed that bit wrong. They made it too forceful and too pushy, and it wasn't that sort of relationship. It was a button head relationship more than anything.
They portrayed it as Dee Dee being almost afraid of her mom.
Yeah.
Almost like, I have to do what you tell me to do, because she had this controlling aspect over her. But I get what you're saying, the dramatization. So we don't actually know. This is called perception, people. This is exactly.
Yeah.
So the kids saw it one way. We see it one way because we're watching it on some fucking TV show. So we don't really know, like, was mama insane too? I don't know. We don't know for sure. So.
No, and the one thing that we do know for a fact that is shown in pretty much every dramatization of this is Dee Dee being arrested and serving time in prison for writing bad checks.
Well, she had that little klepto thing to her. She liked to steal and do shit like that. So
she did, and she wrote bad checks, and she wrote checks that bounced for bills and stuff like that. Shit, who hasn't done that? But she was never arrested, and she never done time inside, and Gypsy was never left alone with her mum to raise her. And I find that a really weird thing to add into a story that wasn't like this story is crazy and insane, and like things you wouldn't believe this could happen. And for a producer to go, do you know what we need? We need something to razz this story up a bit. I just found it such an odd choice to do it.
You have to be talking about the act.
Yeah,
right?
the act. Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you that too. When I watched it, I was like, because of stuff I had read, I was like, okay, who has it right? Obviously, you're going to read these articles and you still have to fact check them because you don't know for sure. But then the movie, it's going to dramatize it. And I think it even says PSA for you people. When you watch shit like this, it usually says some things are kind of, how do you say, like, we're exaggerating them.
They basically put a disclaimer that goes, some of this we made up because it sounded better.
Well, it does, because it makes it sound better, and it's more dramatic to see Patricia Arquette be like, don't let her see me. And it's like, girl, Patricia Arquette, I like her in Dream Warriors. Wasn't she in Dream Warriors?
Yes, she was.
Yeah, so go back to that. Like, she did not do a good Dee Dee, in my opinion. I didn't like her character. I didn't like her for that.
No, it's a good series. If you want to go and watch the act, it's available. You'll find it easy enough. It's on Prime. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Hulu. I think it's on Hulu too.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. So there's loads of places you can go watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was openly discussed in the family that Dee Dee potentially killed her mum through neglect and denying food. Now, I wanted to ask you, because you understand the psychological side of this more.
Yeah.
Given the mental illness that Dee Dee had with how she would treat Gypsy and how the things she would do there, could you see her then flipping the switch and doing the exact opposite and neglecting someone care? It doesn't make sense to me, but I don't understand the illness as much as you do.
I'll just put it in a nutshell. Like, okay, so the illness in itself is basically someone who likes the notoriety of having someone sick that's close to them. Okay. So like, let's say, for example, that I had Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and I would purposely be getting my son sick because it's not about his attention. It's about the attention I'm getting. That's the disease. So Dee Dee is getting all the sympathy, like, oh, we're so sorry. And she's getting all this shit happen to her because she's inflicting these things on Gypsy or saying that she's sick. And some of the stuff, they kind of show it in the series, and they're like, you can see that it's starting to show up because she's giving her the Tylenol or whatever it is.
Yeah.
she's given her, let's give you a little extra. And it's like, obviously, that could lead to killing your child because you can accidentally overdose them. And in a lot of these cases that happen, there's not a lot of them, but in these cases, there have been some where the moms have killed the child because they're going so extreme. One, for example, we're going to talk about this real quick. One, for example, was a mom. I think the little boy was under 2. And he had a feeding tube thing in his tummy. So she was basically giving him sodium, salt.
Yeah, okay.
And to the point to where, and this happened not long ago. And so you see what I'm saying? She was making him sick, but it's like, obviously they're going to know, like, this fucking child, why would he have this much salt? But anyways, to make a long story short, because I can ramble forever about this, because I find it fascinating. It's fascinating to think, like, how can you birth a baby, but then you kind of want to do harm to the baby, but like she didn't, but she did. I don't think she did it to the mom. I think there was resentment towards the mother for whatever reason that we may have not seen. And no, because it wouldn't really give her any notoriety necessarily to actually harm the mother, because the whole point is to make them, like, they make them just as sick as they need to be, but not enough to kill them in most cases.
Yeah.
So I don't know really on that.
That's a bit about Dee Dee, what we do know. Let's talk about Gypsy and Gypsy's childhood. So up until 3 months old, Gypsy had a relatively normal lifestyle. Rod was still involved in their life and would come round and they would spend time together as a family. And it was around this age that Dee Dee had convinced herself that Gypsy had sleep apnea and got her involved in several sleep studies in hospitals where they'd do overnight stays and monitor her sleeping. And it was from here, as the relationship between her and Rod, this kind of visitation started to break down, that things started to worsen, and Dee Dee started claiming that Gypsy had every disease and illness and condition you could imagine.
Everything.
And Dee Dee put it all down to a chromosomal disorder that she believed come from the father.
No, and I'm going to tell you one thing. Like, you have children, I have children, and as you've never delivered a child, but I have 3 times. They do a lot of testing, even back then. Okay, and that wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
They do testing for, like, things like that. So when they do ultrasounds and they're like, the baby doesn't look right, we're going to do genetic testing.
Yeah.
You can't just all of a sudden have a genetic disorder well after you're born. Like, it doesn't just appear. It's either you have it
or you don't.
Yeah.
At 8, Gypsy was already using a walker because Dee Dee had convinced her and everyone around her that she had muscular dystrophy.
Yeah.
And it was around this time she went for a ride on her grandfather's motorcycle and she come off and she scuffed her knee quite badly. She needed a couple of stitches in the emergency room. Nothing major. This is a kid's fallen off a bike that wasn't going very fast.
They do it all the time. Kids be stupid like that. That's what they do.
Kids are stupid without doubt.
Sometimes.
The thing is, though, kids are fearless as well. That's the problem.
They are.
And Dee Dee took this injury as the need for Gypsy to start using a wheelchair. And this is where the wheelchair originally came from. So this was a wheelchair that Dee Dee alleged the hospital gave her. Many people believe Dee Dee took the wheelchair on her way out.
I'm sure. Like, they're not like, okay, first of all, I don't think that the hospital is just giving out free fucking wheelchairs. Excuse me. So we know Dee Dee has a past of being a klepto. We know she stole it. Even if we can't fact check that, we're going to say it's safe to assume she stole that shit.
If I was a gambling man and there was money on the table, my money would definitely, there would be money on that she stole that. Dee Dee stopped Gypsy going to school from around 2nd grade, so at the end of kindergarten, 2nd grade, at some point in that period, and she homeschooled her. And the reason for this was that her illness was now so bad that she couldn't attend school. But in honesty, it was to isolate Gypsy further from the world and make her more reliant on her mum's care.
Yes.
Dee Dee wasn't the best educated of people. And she did try to teach Gypsy, but Gypsy claims that she learned a lot of her reading from reading Harry Potter books on her own. So Dee 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 gave her the basic principles, and then she just sat and kind of self-taught.
Yeah, I mean, like, what else are you supposed to do? I mean, like, obviously, what else are you supposed to do? Like, I don't know about Harry Potter, but that's like, I don't read that dorky shit, but that I just upset like at least 3 people, but just saying.
Yeah, that's the clip I'm using for this episode. I don't know about that dorky shit, Harry Potter.
I mean, I don't get it. Anyways, we don't have time for that, but like,
No.
I don't get it. Like, I'd rather watch Twilight. Sue me. I don't care.
After they moved out of the family home, Dee Dee and Gypsy lived in public housing, and they were surviving on Rod's support checks.
Yes.
And they had public assistance as well for Gypsy's ongoing medical conditions. So the government stepped in and helped them too. Gypsy saw so many doctors. I actually went through a list of the amount she saw, and honestly, it would fill half an episode. So trust me,
it was about 100, probably
Yeah.
close to that, maybe over 100 for sure.
Yeah. Her issues had now expanded, and she had problems with her hearing, her vision, and also had regular seizures. None of this was happening. She was in perfect health.
Yeah, I know.
This poor little girl has just, she's being abused by a mentally ill parent. And that's where I struggle, because I want to hate Dee Dee for what she'd done. I do, but she couldn't help it. She needed help herself.
Okay, breaking point for a second. I understand that she did need help. Yes, she should have gotten help. The thing is, these fucking doctors that gave her this diagnosis, like, they should be held responsible too, because I'm sorry, like, did you know that now there were some that were like, this bitch is lying, like, this child's fine. But come on, you're gonna sit there and tell me that, like, they just muscular dystrophy? Like, that's not, you don't just get that.
No, you don't. In 2001, Gypsy and Dee Dee attended the Special Olympics, and Gypsy was named honorary queen of the event. And it was a couple of years after this, when Hurricane Katrina hit, that their house was destroyed. They relocated to a shelter in Covington, which was set up to deal with people who had special assistance needs. And this is where Dee Dee had the perfect opportunity to create the perfect scenario she's always wanted. She told doctors that all of her medical records and her birth certificate for Gypsy had all been destroyed in the hurricane.
Yeah, because she was a liar too. So obviously,
the doctor of the practice helped them get airlifted out and got them out to Missouri. When they got out to Missouri, they were living in a rented home in Aurora, which is southwest Missouri. I don't know. Right, Aurora it's not Illinois. No. Or is it Aura? I don't know. I can't.
I don't know either. I'm thinking about Wayne's World, and I'm like, where the fuck is where? I don't know the world. Anyway, sorry guys.
They remained there until 2008, when Habitat for Humanity stepped in.
Yeah.
So there was a home in Springfield that was owned by the government, and Habitat for Humanity stepped in and they helped build a ramp. They put in a jacuzzi. They renovated a lot of the inside.
Crazy.
And this is when, like, the local community, so the local newspaper got a hold of this. It's like, there's a single mum with a severely ill child who's moving to our town. Everyone come and help. So, like, the whole town just like banded together and helped furnish the house. And
I can't.
It's so wrong, but it's wonderful that the community come together and done that. But when you know, but it's a lie, it's like, oh, you bitch. You took that from someone who needed it.
Y'all, I'm sorry. Like, I'm still going to be a Gypsy Rose apologist, I guess, because like her mama did her so damn wrong, Scott.
Yeah.
Like you saw the way she looked too. That's the thing. Doing that to the child made her basically not develop correctly.
Yeah.
Because she just didn't, like, obviously when you're not using your legs, but there's nothing wrong with your legs, you're going to get things that do happen to you, not muscular dystrophy, but just saying, it's awful. I don't like it.
Over the time Dee Dee was claiming all of these things were wrong with Gypsy, Dee Dee played on the sympathies of charities and organizations. They had trips to Disney, backstage passes to concerts, in particular Miranda Lambert, and I don't know who that is.
She's a country. Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop. She's a country singer that nobody gives a tartar sauce shit dick about. I don't.
Okay. Well, they had loads of backstage visits with her, and there's loads of photos that Miranda had shared, like at the time. Of
yeah.
her
Okay.
with
So,
Gypsy.
do you listen to country music at all, or no? Like, I only like '90s country, but if I have to listen to it, I'm going Garth Brooks '90s. Like, I'm going that way. Right?
Okay, if I'm going country, the most country I get is Dolly Parton, and I stop.
No, but that's kind of universal. Like almost everybody loves her because she's like an angel. But what I'm saying is like I'm talking about '90s country, kind of when we were children growing up. I know you didn't grow up in the States, but anyways, Miranda Lambert is like real twangy. Like he's been cheating, like that kind of shit. Like it's
right. Okay,
don't listen to it.
No. They also stayed in Ronald McDonald houses when they went to hospital, so they stayed in more lavish accommodation. They got free flights to medical appointments across state lines. A lot of these activities were founded by the Make-A-Wish Foundation and other charities. And again, the deceit by Dee Dee using these resources of these charities for they don't fucking need it, but there's people out there who desperately did need it, who may not have got it because they used it.
Why are they using the Make-A-Wish? Isn't that like when you're going to die?
Not all. Only
it's not. I was
only
thinking it was only for terminal like children, like illnesses, right? Like,
yeah, it's
why
not
are we
only
using this?
So yeah, but Dee Dee literally preyed on all of these charities. She would write letters to all of these charities explaining how bad their life was and all the things that Gypsy was going through. And with no medical records, no one at these charities or foundations can verify what she's telling you.
But you would think common sense would tell you, Scott, that if you're going to use this privilege, right?
Yeah.
You should verify it. Why would any of these foundations be like, you know what? It's fine. We believe what you said. Like, no, I would be like, okay, because like, think about people lying all the time. It's just like a GoFundMe. People can say, oh, well, my dick fell off and like, I need a new dick or whatever. You don't understand. Like people lie on that shit. I know someone that lied about it. I'm not saying any names, but I do know someone that fibbed and basically did a GoFundMe and they got in trouble. But like, you don't do that.
No, you don't. Despite what many people have heard or what you may have seen in various different shows, Rod stayed in Gypsy's life and they had regular telephone calls. When he called to speak to her on her 18th birthday, Dee Dee told him not to mention her age because Gypsy believed she was 14. There's lots of rumors that Dee Dee never told Gypsy who it actually was. It wasn't a case of, oh, your dad's calling. It was like, oh, this guy's on the phone. And from what I've read, most of their conversations were really generic conversations. Hi, how are you? What have you been up to? How's the weather? It wasn't sort of, oh, hi, this is Dad. I really miss you. It was like, how you doing?
That's abusive in itself to neglect a child to have a relationship with their other biological parent when knowing that he didn't do anything wrong. And he was actively trying to be in her life and was sending Dee Dee munties, lots of money until she turned 18. Thank you. And it's like, why would you do that? See, that goes beyond the Munchausen thing. She had mental illness, but she also wasn't that fucking stupid.
Yeah.
She knew what she was doing to a degree.
Yeah. I mean, we've given you a brief outline of what Gypsy's sort of day-to-day life was like. Unfortunately, the abuse of Gypsy went much further than pretending she had illnesses.
Yeah.
It was a lot more than mentally damaging. It was physically damaging as well. So when Gypsy would be defiant, Dee Dee would use an open hand to slap her or hit her with a coat hanger.
Yeah.
She also made her do so many unnecessary medical procedures, from all sorts of like just general generic tests and needles and scrapings and biopsies, but also having her saliva glands removed.
Yeah, that just does not make a goddamn bit of sense to me.
No, so
like I literally don't understand. Like it was okay. It was to prevent her from choking because she salivated or whatever, like had a lot of excess of drool.
Yeah, so she said that she was drooling a lot, and the doctors agreed that they would use Botox to
She's
stop
not a fucking dog.
No.
She was not.
No, she wasn't. So Dee Dee was giving her medication. She was putting numbing gel in her mouth to make her drool when she went to the follow-up appointments, which is why they removed them, which is just insane.
I can't. I'm gonna get some Botox one day, but it ain't for that reason.
No. It's it was all of these treatments that led to Gypsy's teeth being removed and a bridge being fitted. Which you can see in all the photos of her now. She's got metal teeth round.
She does, but in the act, they basically, I think they try to blame it more on her sneaking sugar because her mom said she was like deadly allergic to sugar, which I don't know if that's a thing. It could be. You can be allergic to anything. But I was like, is that a real thing? Because basically the doctor was like, take a sip of this Coke. You're not going to die. And she's like, hell no, because my mom will kill me, whatever. But they blamed it on that. But I'm guessing it wasn't that. It was probably the abuse and the neglect of the mouth itself.
Yeah, it was. It was lots of medical procedures and lots of different drugs they were using that were causing her teeth to decay. And then
the drugs would, because she had none of that. They took them.
Yeah, took them all. She also had tubes implanted in her ears, and this was due to never-ending ear infections. Again, something that wasn't happening, but Dee Dee claimed was happening, so the doctors acted.
The doctor, was she sucking the doctor's ding-dong slot? Well, come on.
You would think that the doctors would spot this, and one of them actually did.
One was suspicious out of all these doctors that were like, you know what? She doesn't have cancer, but we're going to do this shit to her body? What's wrong with you? There's something. We're going to find out.
There was one doctor. It was Bernardo Flasterstein. I'm going to give him props that he spotted it, and then I'm going to condemn him when I get to the end of this paragraph.
Yeah, I know you are.
So he became suspicious of Gypsy's condition after he ran a bout of fresh tests that all come back negative. He then requested medical records from Dee Dee, and Dee Dee went, no, they were all lost in Katrina.
Yeah.
He then went and contacted other doctors that had been mentioned by Dee Dee, and spoiler, her medical records hadn't been lost at all. Now, these confirmed the theory that he had that Gypsy was fine. And he was the first person to suggest the possibility of Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Yeah.
And as you explained earlier, this is an illness where the caregiver will make up symptoms or create symptoms to make their child appear sick.
Yeah.
Remember, it is a mental illness, so Dee Dee couldn't help this any more than someone who suffers with schizophrenia could prevent a schizophrenic break. It is something that was part of her, and even if she wanted to stop, she couldn't because it's an illness.
No, and she needed help in herself. I understand that, but there does come a point where we have to get that dividing line of she did have this mental illness and she was harming her child, could have killed Gypsy at any point, honestly. Yeah. And then we have to think about the things that she was doing that does not make you have a mental illness. She was conniving and sneaky and a fucking liar. So we're on this kind of this. We're on a tipsy-turvy of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, she was a bad woman. Mental illness aside, she was not a nice person.
Yeah, no, she wasn't.
Now, the doctor didn't follow up on his suspicions. And the reason he didn't is because higher up doctors within his hospital told him to treat these as the golden patients and treat them with kids' gloves. And because his possible diagnosis of Dee Dee was so rare and they were so convincing, he genuinely didn't think any medical board would believe him. What is wrong with this guy?
Something, I swear to you, you won't be able to find this online, but something is fishy with everything. It's never sit right with me to think that out of all these doctors, yeah, you have the one who has a suspicion, and he's basically like, this bitch has this Munchausen. Nobody did anything about it. I just don't understand how in a medical community they could allow these things to happen to a little girl.
No.
And how they could keep doing these things to her. And like in the back of their head, like when you go to a doctor and it makes you scared to go to a fucking doctor to think like you're going to get whatever checked. And they're like, would they lie to you and say that you have something that you don't? You know what I mean? Like it's scary. You're supposed to. We put our faith and trust into the medical system because when we don't feel well, we have to turn to them to make us feel better.
Yeah, and they take an oath to do no harm, and so many doctors done harm in this case. So many,
hundreds. If let's just say at least 100 doctors have done harm.
Yeah, they have 100% have.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break before we get into what I've dubbed as the Gypsy Rebellion and Dee Dee's murder. So let's take a quick break.
Brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network. Welcome to the podcast.
And then the kids in the 80s win it all.
Woo! No, because now I don't want you to finish it because you're like, you were wrong. You're an asshole.
You're a fucking idiot.
Welcome back. Make sure you go and check out You're Going to Eat That Crust on yourunpodcast.com and all other podcast platforms. And also while you're there, check out all the other podcasts as part of
I'm going to check them out because I don't know. I should know. I'm awful. Like, I'm a snob. I literally don't listen to so many different podcasts because I'm just like, it's no offense, guys. Like, whatever. It's not that. It's not that I hate you. It's literally like, I have it set to listen to these. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make a list of like 5 I need to check out. And then I'll get distracted. And then mental health things. I think I just listen to the same podcast over because it's like comforting. So
yeah. Go and check out some of the network podcasts on there and some of the YouTube channels. We've got some great people on there. Yeah. Where were we? Oh, yes. Teenage Rebellion. Gypsy was getting older, and like all teenagers, which I'm sure me and Heather will attest to, they reach a point where there's a crossroads and you don't want them to stop them being your little baby anymore, and they now want to be a grown-up and do grown-ass shit.
Yeah, I mean, I have one at least that's grown up now, almost 21 next month. And then I have 2 others that are in that, 12, 13 year age range where they're boys. So it's a little different with girls versus boys. But yeah, nonetheless, teenagers are mean as fuck.
Yeah, from the age of 12 to 14.
Mean. I cried, Scott. My daughter was so mean to me. She abused me. Like, seriously.
Yeah. Anyone who's got kids who are 10 or 11, enjoy the next 2 years because that's all you've got. And then from 12 to 15 or 14, it's horrific.
I will say boys don't tend to be as mean. Like, at least in my experience, my boys are very sweet. They're very nice mannered. But my daughter, like, I love her. She's cool as fuck now. Like, she was going through some shit, and I was like, "I'm sorry." Anyways,
well, for this, it was Gypsy was pushing her mum to let her do things, and her mum started to give a little bit as well. And they would go to science fiction and comic book conventions and things like that. And it was at one of these conventions that Gypsy disappeared. It's now believed that it was actually an escape attempt, which it wasn't at the time. She was found in a man's hotel room by Dee Dee, who showed him Gypsy's fake birth certificate because she'd now reached the point where she had fake documents showing that Gypsy was only 14, and basically said to the guy, if you ever contact her again, I'll call the police.
Yeah.
When they got back from this convention, Dee Dee destroyed Gypsy's laptop and her mobile phone with a hammer and tied her to the bed. She told Gypsy if she ever done anything like this again, the next time she'd use the hammer on her hands. And she was kept in restraints for 2 whole weeks.
That's insane. So the movie kind of got some of it right. I think that they do that. That's what happens. Is like they'll put one part, and you're like, well, if this part is true, why isn't the other part true? But dramatization, edit, add extra time. But that whole subplot thing in the movie, though, I know we're not talking about that, but like her meeting that guy, Scott. Was his name Scott? I think
His
it was
name was,
Scott.
yeah.
I was like, dude, why were you gonna fuck her anyways? And I'm not being mean. Like, I'm sorry, but like, come on. He was a pedo. He was a pedo.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this guy who took Dee Dee back to
was a pedo.
100%.
Like, yeah.
It was at this time that Dee Dee told Gypsy that she'd applied to the court to get full power of attorney and control over Gypsy because she deemed that Gypsy was not mentally capable of making her own decisions because of the decisions she made at the convention.
Yes.
This led to a lesser-known escape attempt by Gypsy that doesn't hit hardly any news sites, doesn't hit hardly any, like if you go searching for this, there's only a few news reports of this. Gypsy had enough and she decided she was going to leave. She picked up a BB gun and she shot Dee Dee 10 times in an attempt to leave the house before being overpowered, dragged back to the bedroom and restrained.
She should have shot her in that perm.
It was a bad perm.
It was pretty bad.
So after Gypsy had tried twice and failed twice, it led to a silent rebellion with Gypsy getting up late in the night using her mum's computer to talk to people on Facebook on one of the 5 accounts she had. She was also on various dating sites as well. And
Christian dating sites, I believe, was one of the where she met Nick.
Christian Mingle.
Girl, no. Y'all know that's the most serial killers are on that site. I don't even know why we have to have a debate. We don't. Because, like, don't do it, honey. Just go meet somebody at the bar. If people would meet people at the bars and be sleazy, relationships will last longer, probably. That's my take.
I agree.
Yes.
This is where she met Nicholas Godejohn. The relationship developed over a period of months and it became sexual in a virtual way, which their encounters often contained BDSM content.
I didn't like it. It's gross.
No, it's very gross.
No, it's not. I'm not kink shaming. I'm not like, if you like that, that's totally fine. It's not that. That's not what I'm saying. Let me clarify because I don't want people to think that I'm not like that. It was gross in the way it was portrayed in the film version. It was gross to me.
Yeah, the thing is, I think that kind of online, like BDSM, like if you're going to do a bit of spanking or a bit of tying up or whatever it is in the BDSM world you like, that kind of works if you're with the person.
I think that's why I found it cringy because it was like
it's a bit different.
Yeah.
Gypsy claims that these were his fantasies, not hers, and she was just fulfilling that itch for him.
We don't know.
Nicholas had a criminal record for indecent exposure. And this is related to an incident where he was arrested for masturbating for 7 hours to porn in a fast food restaurant.
Excuse me, sir. 7 hours?
Yeah. He's a stallion.
Like consistent? No, sir.
No, apparently he was in there for 7 hours and then he would masturbate to porn.
He was taking a popcorn break. Please tell me he was taking a Coke and a popcorn break.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something. Popcorn at the movies is fire, but I ain't masturbating over it. Like,
no. Yeah. He had a myriad of his own issues. I think
he was autistic. So we need to put that in the forefront. I believe he was autistic or he had some form of autism.
Yes.
He did. Again, that is a whole different thing. We'll talk more about that in an extended cut because I want to talk about that some, but not right now. But that would make sense why he didn't have the social cue to be like, this isn't right. You don't masturbate. You're not Pee Wee Herman. Get out of here.
Yeah, you don't bash one out in Burger King. That's not how it works.
No, don't do that.
In March 2015, Gypsy and Nicholas conspired to create an accidental meeting where she would introduce him. They would bump into each other and then Mum would meet him think he's great, and then
Yeah.
this relationship would move forward. And it was done at a cinema where Gypsy and her mum were going in full costume to watch Cinderella. Gypsy paid for his travel, paid for his ticket, and it didn't quite pan out. So Nicholas states that the two met in the disabled toilet and had sex. Gypsy disputes this fact and says that he couldn't get an erection, even though she wanted to.
It's making me sick. I'm going to have indigestion.
The introduction to Dee Dee was also a failure because of her overprotective nature of Gypsy. She's not letting anyone talk to Gypsy. And this
she was very, very obviously that's part of the condition. Like keep her away, because if she talks too much, she might say the wrong thing.
She's going to drop
her.
Yeah, she's going to drop me in the shit if she talks to someone for more than a minute.
Exactly.
From here, we know the two of them planned Dee Dee's murder. And together with Gypsy leading the way and asking for Nicholas to commit the act because she didn't think she could do it herself. And it was in June 2015 where they put their plan into motion. Nicholas arrived at the home. Dee Dee had already been gone to bed and gone to sleep. When he arrived, Gypsy let him in. She armed him with a knife, duct tape, and gloves. She then hid in the bathroom so she didn't have to hear her mother scream. She hid in the bathroom with her fingers in her ear. Nicholas stabbed Dee Dee 17 times. Afterwards, Nicholas claims that Gypsy and him had sex, and she performed oral sex. Again, this is something Gypsy disputes, and she claims that Nicholas raped her, and she knew that was going to happen because he had told her he was going to do that because she said he couldn't rape her mum in the planning of this. So
I don't like it. I don't like this part because it's like
apparently in their planning, Nicholas has said, I'm going to rape your mum when I kill her. And Gypsy went, no, you're not doing that. And he went, well, if I'm not doing that, I'm raping you afterwards.
And they do portray her being raped in the act. It's not consensual. It's like she lays there, like he forces himself on her, basically. That's just, it's hard to know if that's hard to fact check. We don't know if like
the only people who know what happened there is Nicholas and Gypsy, and they're telling completely different stories, which
100%
makes it now. It's you take a side on what opinion you believe.
We don't trust anyone, Scott. That's why we do true crime. We don't know.
They took $4,000 and fled to a local motel where they laid low for a couple of days before they caught a Greyhound bus cross country to go to Nicholas's house. When they got there, his mum came and picked him up and took him to the home. They posted themselves the knife so they weren't caught with it in their possession. And this to me just shows the level of stupidity from both of them. You don't post the murder weapon. You don't take the murder weapon. You dispose of the murder weapon completely. This is almost like trophy keeping. It's like souvenir keeping.
I think that Gypsy was assuming, if I had to be in her mind for a second, I would say that she was thinking, if we mail it back to there, right, it would be a distraction of some sorts because, like, obviously people throw guns and shit into, like, fucking lakes and they find that shit, okay? Yeah. They find it. So she was probably, you have to understand, too, even though she didn't have the mind of a 7-year-old like her mom tried to say she did, she was developmentally a little behind for sure because of the situation. So you have to think that if you watch TV, is a good example. If you watch a horror movie or TV, you watch a show and you're like, oh, that could happen in real life. And it makes you think like, did she see something and think, I'll do this and it's clever? Like, no, it's the stupidest fucking thing you could have done. But at the same time, to her, it shows you that she was not all there.
No, she wasn't. When I saw it in the TV show, and then when I went and investigated and started reading the articles, and I sat and watched. So I watched. So Gypsy's full interview with the police and Nicholas Gaujon's are available. You can find them quite easily.
Yeah. I've watched both of them. Yeah.
It's like 9 hours worth of interview.
It's a lot of shit. So I just like, okay, let me get to the part I need to know.
No, see, I watched them in full because I wanted to hear, like, when Nicholas was trying to explain his side of the story and the detectives kind of going back and asking him stuff that she asked him 10 minutes ago. he does not have a fucking clue what he said.
No,
10 minutes
because
ago.
I think that had to do with the fact that with his level of autism, because you can be like, here's the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
My hands are out. That's the thing. You can be highly functionable and be autistic, or be on the spectrum, or you can be so severe to where it's noticeable. I think he was just like a little further down, but like he's still functionable, but
Yeah.
like his mind was not. You couldn't rationalize with him because he wasn't able to give. I think he was lying on the cuff, right?
Yeah, and I think
he was making shit up as he goes.
And on the flip side of that, in Gypsy's interview, she is very she knows what she's saying all of the time. And when they bring her back to something she said 3.5 hours ago, she still has the same answer. And I don't know, I'm going to be honest with you now. I don't know if that's because she's telling the truth or because she's been trained to lie for her entire life and she's just a fucking good liar. I can't tell what it is.
But you cannot sit here and tell me that you can blame her for being sort of a fucking liar, right?
No, and I do not blame her for
because her mom would basically be like, let me pinch you, like, don't lie.
Yeah.
Her mom made her lie all the time. So I think by nature, Scott, she probably was extremely good at lying because it was the way she was brought up. It doesn't make it right. I will say that. It's not okay.
No, it's not okay. I understand this is a case that I understand the reasons behind it.
Yeah.
But I cannot get a read on. My issue lies with I cannot get a read on Gypsy. I've watched so much police interview footage. I've watched the entire court case. I've watched every word that's come out of Gypsy's mouth from when she was getting all of her charity donations and when everyone believed she was sick, right up until now. And I still can't get a read on what's real and what's not.
Do you know that I still see, like when I watch her shit on Instagram and things like that, as soon as she was released, and then she's married to the Ryan guy who looks like Peter Griffin from Family Guy. We're all thinking it.
Yeah.
And so I'm still seeing that little girl that's like, oh, hey, I'm out here. My name's Gypsy Rose. I'm out here living my best life. Nobody can hold me down. Like literally that's her. I think what it is like she spent her time in jail. She did her time. And it's like being out in the real world. It's a little scary for someone that maybe is not mentally all the way. What is she, almost 30? I think she's almost 30, like around that age.
20. So that's in my notes for next time, not for this time.
Yeah. Well, anyways, just saying, she's not going to act like a normal adult because she's never been in a normal situation. So I think for her, she's just like, look at me, like I'm out. I'd probably be acting kind of crazy too if I was out. Like,
the thing is, like the stupidity with like the murder weapon, that's not where their stupidity ended. It got so much like there's a point where you go like, I'm reading it and I'm listening to them tell me in the interviews. I'm like, what in God's name possessed you to do that? So they start posting on Dee Dee's Facebook, and they post things like that bitch is dead is one of the ones
that's like something like a child would do that doesn't have any kind of like understand repercussions of being in trouble. Like, why did you do that?
I don't get it, but it led the neighbors to go and investigate, and they found Dee Dee's body, and then the police got involved, and then there was this widespread panic because all of Gypsy's medication and her wheelchairs were there, and the world lost their mind that this poor girl's mum had been attacked, and then maybe she'd been kidnapped, and she can't survive without her medication. The police traced the IP address to Nicholas's house, to that Facebook where the Facebook post came from, and they stormed the house and they arrested Nicholas, but they didn't arrest Gypsy at first. Gypsy was like, "Oh, it's fine. You're here. You're safe." Until they realized that she could walk, and they arrested her on the spot. As soon as she stood up, they went, "What the fuck? Right? Okay, we're going to put some cuffs on you because we don't know what's going on." In the interviews, so they were arrested. They were charged with criminal action, concealed weapons, and murder as well. In the interviews, the truth of all of what Gypsy had been through all come to light. And
Yeah.
if you do take the time to watch Gypsy's police interview, her explaining the things that happened in her life, honestly, is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
It was so unnecessary. And mental illness or not, like I think the biggest thing to take from this, even though we haven't done an extended cut yet, the biggest thing to take from this episode, when you listen, is that people have mental illnesses, whether it be severe, not as bad, whatever. But there's always resources of some sort to get some help. Just try to get some help. Like my thing is like, I've been to therapy. I've done it before. I don't have a mental illness like that, but I suffer with anxiety and I've had to, an OCD. I've had to go to therapy. But my thing is like, it's such a tragic case for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
Like if somebody could have helped Dee Dee, if she would have been self-aware to know, and then that could have been helped, Gypsy would have grown up totally different. We would not be having this conversation right now, obviously.
No, exactly. The thing is, I think Dee Dee must have been aware. You can't do these things to your child and not be on some level aware of, even if you're not aware of what you're doing to your child, you're aware that you are then defrauding charities. You are aware you're taking money there's
doing so many things. Yes.
Yeah. The Greene County Sheriff at the press conference said that things are not always as they appear. And then it was shortly after this that the news broke that it was all a big scam. And there was a mixed response from the community. There was shock, there was sympathy, and there was anger. But the anger was aimed at Dee Dee and at Nicholas Gaujean. And the love and well wishes and overall sort of attention and sympathy for Gypsy Rose flooded in. And blame was shifted quite quickly away from her because she is a victim who's fought back. And it was the court of public opinion that helped prosecutors not pursue the death penalty for either Nicholas Gaujean or Gypsy.
Well, I think because they both had some sort of cognitive issue.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean? So, like, would we really want to put them on death? Like, it's wrong what they did. She should have not conspired to kill her mother. Yeah, try to run away, try to go to the police. I understand being scared. I don't understand that situation, but like, I can understand to an aspect. But like, it just shows you that some people just don't think they have an option. And that was her option, to kill her mother.
Yeah, and if she had taken the other option, which was to be at a public event and get up and walk over to a police officer and go, there is nothing wrong with me.
Exactly.
My mum is crazy. This turns out completely different. For Nicholas, they went for life imprisonment. He then got an additional 25 years for criminal action, which is the act of going on the run and sending the Facebook posts and all that.
He's in jail for a very long time.
Yeah.
And he's young, but he's in jail for a long time.
For Gypsy, she had a plea bargain, which included giving information against Nicholas Gaujean, but she didn't have to take the stand against him. Her charges were dropped to second-degree murder, which she was found guilty, and she was sentenced to 10 years in prison. What's your thoughts on the sentencing here? Like, should Gypsy have been charged with murder one, the same as Nicholas Gaujean? Because she conspired, she orchestrated that murder. And I'm going to use this example, and we've spoken about it. And I know you're going to lose, but it
make me mad.
It's the same as Charles Manson. She didn't do anything, but she orchestrated everything that happened. Very different circumstances, but it is the same crime.
Okay, so I'm just going to say this. When we are trying to compare Gypsy Rose to, I get what you're saying, your kind of analogy of like Charles Manson. Yeah, I mean, he did some shitty stuff. Obviously, he didn't actually kill anybody. I think he hurt some people, cut some fingers off. He did some shit like that.
But I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm not comparing the two in their crimes because they are worlds apart. But
I know you're not.
In the conspiracy to murder, I kind of see it as they've done exactly the same thing. They told someone.
You see it as a mastermind. You're seeing it as a mastermind plan, sort of like Charles Manson.
Yeah.
And in a culty, not hers not being in a culty way, but his being in much a culty way. And I get what you're saying, but I love you, Scott. I love you, but I don't agree with that to an extent, because I feel like I don't know 100% sure what actually conspired between Nick and Gypsy. Yes, did Gypsy I don't think she seduced him into killing her mom. Like that's super gross.
No.
I don't feel like she did that, but I do feel like of all the years of mental abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, she learned how to manipulate. And I do think this is where I'm going to agree with you. I do think to a point she probably did manipulate Nick a little bit into being like, hey, if you kill my mom, then we're able to be together, and because they had this whatever connection. And I see it from a standpoint of her wanting to just be free. And you guys have to understand that she wanted to be free. And if you were in that position, how can we know that we wouldn't kill our perpetrator that is keeping us, right? We don't know. No, I wouldn't want to.
We don't. But do you think a 10-year prison sentence was enough for the crime she committed?
I think that a 10-year prison sentence was enough for Gypsy. And the reason why is because I know that even though she sort of conspired this to happen, she did not physically do it. And I feel like she kind of feels like bad. I feel like I've seen her interviewing and being like, I did love my mom, but wouldn't you hate your parent, right?
Oh yeah.
You would be like, it's innate to love your parents, and you love your mom, but her mom, look, she basically put her in her own fucking deathbed every day. This little girl who looked like this, she did not have to look like that. She destroyed her life.
Yeah, I agree with you. I
just don't. I think she did her time. I don't know what happened to her when she went to jail and what she did in jail. They have all kinds of shit you can do in jail, right?
Yeah, we'll find out all about that.
I knew
it. So this is where we're going to call a draw to this because I think everyone can see where this conversation.
We're gonna. Y'all, I've had a little wine and I'm ready to argue with fucking Scott.
Which is why we're calling it a day here. We will be back on the 15th of February with part 2, where we're going to talk about the relationships that Gypsy had in prison. There were multiple men that she had relationships with. We're going to talk about the documentaries, the appeals that went on during her process of trying to get released. We're going to talk about what Gypsy and what Nicholas is doing now. Me and Heather see the case from this point on in a very, very different light.
We do, and I'm going to try not to verbally abuse you, but I don't know for sure if it's going to happen. But I'm going to be really nice because you're my pal. So I'm going to be nice. But look, we can agree to disagree. It's totally fine. That's why we do the show.
100%. And I want to say now, before anyone already comes at me, before I've opened my mouth about my opinions,
don't come at my friend.
I am not going to be attacking Gypsy Rose, but I'm going to share the lens that I see this through and I see. And Heather's going to do the same. And then, hey, fuck, you'll make your own mind up. That's how the world works.
Well, and this is how the show works. It is. We put facts in there because we want to be accurate, but we also are so opinionated that it's going to be a lot of back and forth because we don't know for sure. This is the thing. It doesn't matter what testimony. We still don't 100% know how Nick or Gypsy felt during the process of all this. We don't know.
No,
maybe we can interview Gypsy Rose. I wish. Message her.
I did reach out to Gypsy. I reached out to various members of the Gypsy. The
I'm going to send her a message. Well. Maybe if I send her a message, maybe she's more receptive to females. I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows? A huge thank you for listening or watching. If you are watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little notification.
Hit subscribe. And also, I'm sorry that I keep looking at myself, but I wore my hair down today and I was like, it's so fucking greasy. It's never going to stop, you guys. I'm still going to look at myself. I don't care what platform we're on.
If anyone does watch on YouTube, it is very much like my co-host is a little bit like a budgie. You know when you put a budgie in front of a mirror and
that's me. I can't help it. I can't help it. Anyways, go ahead.
leave a review, comment,
Leave a
do
review.
all those good, wonderful things. I'm handing over to Heather now to sign us off because
Okay,
I've
guys.
just got an image of Heather being a budgie now in a mirror, just going. "Mhm."
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Have you never seen the little birds that we get them in this country? They're called budgies, and people keep them as pets. And when you put a budgie in front of a
No.
mirror, it sees itself, but
It mimics.
yeah, it thinks it's another bird, so it moves, and the other one moves, and it goes like this.
I mean, if you're just calling me a bird, it's literally a compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But anyways, guys, in all seriousness, we have so much to discuss for Extended Cut that, like, stick around because it's going to get wild. And I am probably going to say a lot of cuss words, but it's just my style. But until next time, you guys, we want you to stay safe, stay spooky, and see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye. See you all later.